sociologist at WIT. Lee Walsh, why do you welcome Donald Trump to Ireland, and why do you think the protests are laughable?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to welcome President Donald Trump to Ireland. I stayed up all night the night he got elected. I was very happy. Stayed up till 6 o'clock in the morning watching the votes coming in. And I think he's doing a great job for America. I think he told everybody he was going to bring jobs back to America, and that's what he's done. He's brought over 5 million new jobs back to America in the last 3 years. And I wish we had a leader like that who would put our country first.
Johnathan, Culleton, how do you respond to that?
Well, I would have stayed up quite late that night myself, although my reaction was probably slightly different, I suspect.
You thoroughly dislike Mr. Trump?
I think he's utterly incompetent. I think if we look at, not the commentary around him, because I do take the point that there is a hugely alarmist kind of rhetoric around him. I think if you just look at what he says himself, just his own words, and leave the analysis there, he says things on a regular basis that are utterly misogynist and sexist, utterly racist and xenophobic. He appears to have absolutely no idea what he's talking about when he gets into things like trade deficits and tariffs. He genuinely doesn't seem to understand what they actually are or how they work.
Well, the American economy is red hot. You know, I mean, all the unemployment figures are way down. Women, for example, are at the lowest unemployment rate in America since 1953. I think what we're seeing around the world is this Trump phenomenon. We've seen it with Brexit, we've seen it around Europe. There's a new politics engaging the world, and it's time for us to embrace it, not fall behind. It's easy to be negative. We should look at what positive things are happening, and we should embrace change and not be
But is
left
this not
behind.
the politics of the negative? The politics of this very definite swing to the right, this dislike of the foreigner, the other, anyone with brown skin is met with suspicion.
I think that's crazy. I think Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, made disgraceful comments about Trump yesterday. He said he was like the fascists of the 1930s.
But
And I think
does
that's
say fascist things all the time.
I think that's. I mean, the fascists of the 1930s killed millions of people. This is really insulting to all those victims to compare him with this.
Well, I think the point
60
was
million,
more
people,
subtle
60
than
million
that, no?
American people have voted for Donald Trump. And what the Irish media should be talking about is, why did people vote for Donald Trump? And I think that's the discussion that we need to have.
I think you're absolutely 100% right there. There's some major question marks around that. Well, why? What? How desperate would you need to be?
But he
to
brought
vote
jobs
for
back to
someone
the
who
Rust
tried
Belt.
to-
There was jobs in America.
He hasn't.
There was
The
states in
Rust
America
Belt is struggling
that have
massively.
always voted Democrat, but now, because he stopped importing Chinese steel, he said we're only going to use American steel. Now you have Volkswagen and Ford investing billions into the American economy in the last
You
year.
have car plants leaving the country on a daily basis. The steel issue, the real consequence of that has been higher prices for American consumers. Now, there will be some American consumers that say, fair enough.
But there's
that's
5 million
worth it.
extra jobs in America. He said what he's going to do. The Dow Jones is higher than ever. The economy is red hot.
He inherited an economy that was doing very well. The trajectory has stayed much the same as it was in the last 3 years of the Obama administration.
That's simply not true. The economy has soared since Donald Trump has taken over. Unemployment's gone way down.
Trajectory is
Barack
exactly
Obama was
as
a
it was.
disaster for America.
That's just not the case. Obama inherited an economy that was as bad as it had been since the 1930s and turned it around in a term and a half. I would say a fairly impressive achievement. Not perfect by any stretch.
No, certainly not.
We'll talk about some of the policies just in a second. Brian called in on 051846123 to say he can't stand Trump and his policies, but he says if the man was bringing jobs to Waterford, nobody here would have a problem with him. Irish
Exactly.
people are very fickle, and has called in to say we should consider all the Irish living and working in the US. We send our children over there for better lives. If they were to take all American companies out of Ireland, where would we be? Other people saying that Donald Trump is president of one of the great world powers. Slight him and future American investment will go up the Swanee. Are we beholden, Lee Walsh, to America?
Well, I think we're a very small country, you know, and America has always been very good to us. So no matter who the president of America is, we need to know when to stay quiet. Like, we're a small country.
We're the 8th biggest investor, believe it or not, in America.
I don't, you know,
Sorry.
I don't like Saudi Arabia and their policies, you know. But if they're bringing jobs here, we need to learn how to be quiet sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and that's probably where we part company. I'd agree with you on at least some of what you said. I think the issue is this is, after all, a democracy, and we should be allowed to register a protest when
Oh,
people say and do things
There's
that we
nobody
don't like.
disputing that.
You
There's
know,
nobody disputing that.
Trump does things that are objectionable, like other previous presidents, and therefore people have the right to protest about that. It happened with
Yeah, there's
Reagan
nobody
in the
disputing
80s.
the right to protest, but it's just embarrassing and it's infantile, a lot of the protest.
Okay, Lee Walsh, you got 523 first preference votes.
Yes.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
On
And
your
thanks to all the people who voted for me as well.
on your posters and on your election flyers, you talk about immigration. Mass immigration into Ireland puts an unimaginable burden on housing, schools, and hospital. Unimaginable.
Unmanageable.
Unmanageable.
Properly, yes.
Unmanageable.
Yeah.
Is that a kind of a Trump-esque way of putting things?
No, I think it's common sense, you know, and I think the phenomenon that's happened in America as well is that all these people that have been told to shut up for ages are now talking up. This is like political correctness is fascism dressed up as good manners. People need to, like, we're being told that if we question government policy, well then we're racist or we're accused of some other bigotry. We should be allowed to question government policy without those accusations being thrown at us to try and shut us down.
What do you
And
think
I think
of
the election of Donald Trump is the end of an old era, and we've seen a new era dawning where people are going to, the ordinary working man is just not going to take it anymore.
a new era
It's about
of
time.
right-wing politics?
Absolutely not. It's just common sense.
Okay. What do you think of Peter Casey during the election campaign, where he was standing up in Mullingar and saying that he is he supports racism, or he's a racist? Like, what's your view about that?
I don't know anything about Peter Casey. I didn't vote for him.
No, I know that, but would
Yeah.
you be of the Peter Casey?
I don't think so. No, I didn't vote for him. So I mean,
Well, I know you couldn't vote for him because he was in a different
as a
constituency.
presidential election, I didn't
Yeah,
vote
but
for
in terms of where he's coming from, like, what's your view about race and what racism?
There's only one race, you know, we're all the race of Adam. Like, I'm a Christian myself, so I don't judge anybody by different skin colour or anything like that. I don't think Donald Trump does either. I think what we've seen in America is the African American employment has gone way up. His support amongst the African American community has doubled. So I think the Irish media are really out of touch with reality in America.
What about Trump's administration's attacks on migrants, plans for rounding up some 10,000 migrants in a militarised sweep in 10 major cities?
That was Obama's policy, and thank God he put an end to it.
What about the detention of migrants?
Again, that was Obama's policy, and Trump actually put an end to it. So all those photographs that we saw in the mainstream media were actually photographs under Obama's administration. So there's complete bias from the Irish media. And also as well, I'd like to add as well, there's some vested interest in the Irish media as well. Like, I mean, Dennis O'Brien, for example, is very closely linked with the Clintons. So I think
What about Trump giving confidence to racists and Nazis, Johnathan?
Well, again, if we look at the stats, it's crystal clear that racists and Nazis feel emboldened under this administration. The numbers of anti-Semitic, anti-black incidents in the US has climbed and multiplied by huge statistics over the last couple of years. I mean, we boil back down to this PC argument again and again and again, and PC is painted as this kind of bogeyman by those on the right, as if it's kind of controlling their speech or whatever is described there as
it's not just
fascism.
people on the right. Everybody is sick of political correctness.
Like,
you know?
what political correctness ultimately means is a very simple thing. You treat people as you'd like to be treated yourself. You don't isolate specific ethnic, racial, national groups.
Well, it's about shutting
for
down debate
opprobrium,
as well.
about saying Mexicans are all rapists.
Nobody
about
ever
saying,
said that.
Trump said that the day
Trump
he
never said
declared.
that.
I'm
Never
afraid
said
he
that.
did on the day
Check
he
out my
declared.
Facebook page afterwards, I'll clarify that.
He evidently did say that.
What about the idea that Trump espouses a racism and a sexism and a right-wing philosophy which emboldens people to push forward certain agendas which can be very divisive?
It's completely unfounded. I think Trump has heralded a new year. He's brought in a very positive effect into the world. He's brought about loads of new jobs in America like he said he was going to do. And I think the status quo don't like it, that the power has been taken away from them. So they're going to try every trick in the book to stop him.
Do you believe Trump has given the backing to Boris Johnson? Do you believe Ireland should come out of Europe?
Well, I think we need to have a discussion about what is the best place for Ireland post-Brexit. We need to weigh up.
What's your own view?
My own view is we need to have a look at what the trade deal is. We need to look at what the best place for Ireland is after Brexit. And I think anything that helps us, that's the way we should go. And I think there's
Do you believe we should withdraw from Europe?
No, I don't know the answer to that now. That's the
Well,
truth.
you must have a view on it.
I don't know the answer to that, and that's the truth. I knew you were going to ask me this, and I was thinking about it. And I actually think like
You
that
must be a mind reader.
we need to No, we need to do the maths on what our trades are, what our exports are, and work out where the best place is for us after Europe.
To me, I must say that's just crazy talk. I'm a little too young to remember what Ireland was like before 1973 when
When
we
there
joined.
were no homeless people.
But I can tell you that in the 70s when we joined, Ireland had about 63-64% of the average European income. We now have about 134% of the average European income. We are, to a man and a woman
That's
and a
all
child,
American investment.
considerably better off than we were before.
Yeah, but there are other factors, and I mean, look at our national debt. It's over 200 billion euros now, and we're only servicing that debt. If that goes up if our interest rates goes up 1 or 2%, this country is destroyed.
Do you
And
believe?
we need to have friends in the UK, and we need to have friends in the US. We can't rely
No
fully on Europe.
argument there at all.
I didn't get a chance to ask you during the election, Lee. Do you believe the Waterford Council is doing enough for travellers?
I don't know, to be honest. I never really spoke.
You had a big poster up near
Yeah.
one of the halting sites saying,
Yes, yeah.
"Have you? What was it? Have you had enough of
Had
this?"
enough, yes.
What did you mean by that?
Just enough of government policy, basically, you know.
Oh, it was nothing. It wasn't referring to the travellers at all.
Absolutely not. No, actually, I asked the travellers to keep an eye on it for me, because I get on very well with them. I like the travellers. They're always very pro-life and pro-family. They're always good family people, so I really like them.
And do you believe the council is doing enough for them?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know anything about that to comment on it, really.
I think it's
So-
probably fair to say that there is no council that's doing anything like enough, or
Yeah.
even meeting their basic obligations. The idea, given the level of need, that councils are handing back money that was allocated to traveller projects it's just unconscionable.
And finally, Lee, what would you have to say for anybody that's protesting today against Donald Trump?
But I just think I just like to say to everybody, give him a chance. You know, give Donald Trump a chance. Don't be so negative. You know, maybe try and be more open-minded and get with the times. You know.
Johnathan, get with the times.
I think this man brings it upon himself. Every word out of his mouth is negative. I really don't see what he could possibly be expecting in return.
And we have now a piece with Erica Fuller, who's an American living in Lemmy Bryan, and her views on Donald Trump's visit. Gentlemen, thank you very much.